had planned to sit down and talk anyway here on the porch, and then the governor had this press conference. You were up there for it. Well, hi, Mark. It's good to see you, number one. Good.
Good to have you here, Mark.
Yeah, so, well,
it's all right.
We'll sweat it out for you.
I've been missing the sun.
But why don't you go ahead and give us a sense of just, I mean, you were part of the press conference, your thoughts on that and what we need to take out of this.
There's no question about it. I mean, I'm going to go to the people's side of this. You stop and you think about it. We are very, very competitive. We have plenty of opportunities, but as far as the workforce, we have a talented workforce. Unemployment is low, so the question becomes, where are we going to get this talent from? Where are these people coming from? So the question becomes, are we going to attract more people to want to migrate towards this area? Live in Macomb County. 1 in 9 people right now living in Macomb County is foreign born. That's a testament to people wanting to migrate to this country and wanting to look for an opportunity for themselves. We need to provide those opportunities for people that really want to find Michigan as a place to call home and have a great opportunity for themselves and their families. So again, I applaud the governor on her efforts, and we truly believe in this, and I think it's going to be something that's going to be well supported in Macomb County.
Well, as I said before you sat down, the theme of this conference is the power of "and," which we did not actually just see in this group assembled there. And where are the Republicans? This right now looks like a democratic effort and not one that we can term bipartisan.
And that's a great question. You know, I've always had that mindset of, you know, instead of trying to figure out how do we reach across the aisle, how do we get in the aisle? You know, the conversation you hear all the time during election is, you know, the willingness to want to reach across the aisle. We need to be in the aisle to solve these problems. And when it comes to figuring out economic development, creating jobs and opportunities, it's not about an R or a D. It's about being in the aisle to figure out how do we solve these problems. So again, you know, I don't know if it's an intentional thing where maybe they weren't invited or they weren't part of it, but the reality is I do believe this governor does have an interest to try to reach out, and that "and," meaning wanting to make sure that we're putting a part of this process. I know in Macomb County we are. You know, that "and" conversation with myself and a person like Candace Miller is constant. You know, we're trying to figure out how do we build roads, deal with infrastructure. She's a Republican, I'm a Democrat. We don't talk about the R and the D. We figure out how do we solve those problems, and we are in the aisle making it happen.
Let's talk about Macomb County, where you guys are in terms of economically, recovery-wise, coming out of COVID and in bringing in new business.
We've been very fortunate. I think everybody was a little bit concerned going into COVID what was about to happen, but in Macomb County, we've survived. I mean, I think we've flourished as a result of that. You know, whether you're looking at county finances, our budget, our situation financially, we're doing great. We're seeing a lot of people wanting to build and wanting to try to build their businesses or actually grow their business in Macomb County. Defense industry is flourishing right now. So a lot of good things happening, but I got to believe the biggest challenge most businesses are facing is talent. You know, how do we find people to take on these jobs that are available right now? Right now in Macomb County, as we sit here having this conversation, their unemployment rate is about 3.2%. I mean, that's incredibly low. Yeah. We have our highest workforce numbers, 420,000 people in our workforce. Yet right now, as we're sitting here, 35,000 jobs available in Macomb County alone. You know, where are we going to get that from? You know, we're seeing the birth to death ratios, you know, they've changed. And right now, more people are dying than are being born in Macomb County, and that's kind of the standard across the state. Where are we going to get that influx of people that want to migrate here? And it can't just be regional relocation of, you know, people.
Right, taking from Oakland, coming to Macomb, or taking from Wayne and you know, moving that way.
Yeah, the regional migration isn't going to help, you know, the region. So the reality is, how do we attract people from other states? How do we get them to want to come here from, you know, other countries? We see that in Macomb County. We're fortunate. But the reality is, I think we need to promote this area as one that's welcoming to all, especially those that are looking for an opportunity to, you know, raise a family and look for either putting their business here or trying to figure out where they're looking for a job someplace here.
I remember when I first came to Michigan, I thought, you know, a real problem here is that rather than everybody in Detroit or in Michigan trying to attract jobs from, say, Columbus, Chicago, it was too often Macomb at war with, you know, with Detroit. Detroit trying to keep something from moving to Livonia. That cannibalism was not healthy then. Where do you feel like that is now with regional competitiveness?
Yeah, we think about it. I mean, the region itself. I mean, Detroit is our urban center of this region. There's no question about it, Southeast Michigan. So we need to be competitive as a region, not just with other regions within this country, but regions around the globe. And so to do that, we have to come together to figure out, you know, how do we solve some of these other problems, whether it's transit, whether it's trying to figure out how do we get people to want to come here as business attraction, and even wanting jobs. And so, you know, the narrative can't be about the challenges and the problems that we're seeing with some of the issues happening maybe in the urban center of the city of Detroit, but so many opportunities that are happening within the region outside of that that add value. So that's our job to continue to market that. We're hopeful that we get a lot of support from the media to do that, and you know, I think at some point in time you're going to start to see that narrative change where people are going to say, you know what, Michigan is a beautiful place where we can you know, raise a family, and we want to relocate to from other areas.
Yeah, the also big business is the blue economy, and you know that better than anyone in Macomb and in the water. Are we doing the best we can in terms of right now in marketing that and in taking care of it as well?
Yeah, and I think there should be more of an emphasis on Pure Michigan was a great branding. I thought that was a great opportunity for us to really celebrate what we've got here as far as, the natural resources in Macomb County, just our county alone. Although Lake St. Clair isn't considered one of the Great Lakes, it is the busiest freshwater lake than any other in the entire country during the summer months. And we have 31.5 miles of coastline on that Great Lake of ours. But with the reality of knowing that, we continue to promote that, celebrate it, and let people know that that's a great place to recreate. And I got to tell you, the economy from the boating industry is a billion-dollar industry in and of itself. So again, we have a wonderful asset, fresh water that's abundant, and many other places around the globe would love to have access to something like this, and it's right here plentiful.
You mentioned Candace Miller earlier. We've all, I think, because of her force of personality, become more acquainted, though, with a lot of the problems we have in taking care of that natural resource. You must be more tired than anybody else of watching Metro Beach get shut down. Where do you feel like we are on coming to terms with being better custodians of this resource that we all believe is going to hold us in good stead in the long run against the rest of the country?
It's going to be the attraction to the world, quite honestly.
And we're fortunate. I mean, you stop and you think about it. We have come a long way. I mean, when you talk about the Clinton River, which is our main stream, the main street in Macomb County, flows through there. If you've ever traveled on that with a boat or a kayak, I got to tell you, you feel like you're in the Osabo River or up on the Rifle River, and I've done that many a time as a kid growing up. But it's right here in our backyard, and it's fully navigable. You can actually go through it. There's no woody debris. You don't have to port your vessel getting out of it. And when you're actually on that Clinton River, you feel like you're someplace way up north in the north part of the state. But the reality is, it's fresher than it's ever been before. And with that being said, we need to continue that emphasis on making sure it's clean, as well as Lake St. Clair. And again, we have got a great partner, as you mentioned, with Candace Miller, because she really does care about that environment. That's where she got her start, was out there on Lake St. Clair. Her parents were in the boating industry, so she gets it. And when it comes to infrastructure, it's not just about the above ground. We're always talking about roads and bridges. It's about the underground and making sure we're taking care of that as well, and getting ahead of it before it starts to fail.
All right, Mark, last question. Every year up here at Mackinac, we have a conversation, and I have to tease you about your billboards. I feel like I saw them even sooner on the way up to on I-75 up to Mackinac this year. How does this go over in terms of make Macomb your home? I mean, that's also a good conversation starter for you here on the island.
It was 11 years ago I did my first attempt to do that, and I realized it's because Brooks was stealing the show all the time, Brooks Patterson, and then you had Bob Ficano with some of the challenges he was faced with, but he was getting a lot of attention, and the mayor of Detroit at the time. And so we had to figure out, how do we get attention in Macomb? So we put those billboards up as an opportunity to redirect the conversation. And what first thing that happens, I get a radio interview, and the first thing Brooks Patterson says while he's being asked, what do you think about those billboards? He goes, well, I just want you all to know that head is actual size on the billboard. I thought, great, here I have my opportunity, and he just totally took a shot at me. So,
Brooks.
But again, we get the attention talking about things that we want to kind of messaging-wise while we're up here as well.